Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast, presented by Fabrica 5. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo. Tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Senator, Grinder, and Bam Bam. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some wine, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 129th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a Cuban cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We discuss the newly launched Habanos aged cigar program. We introduce our new podcast sponsor, and Senator takes some heat from a listener email, all among a variety of other things for the next 2 hours. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair Jayson by Pahlmeyer Cabernet Sauvignon with the Cohiba Siglo 5. A Lonsdale tonight from Cuba on the pod. It's the Cohiba Siglo 5. It's a beautiful 43 ring gauge cigar by 6 3/4 inches long. And boys, we are back not only to Cohiba, but our favorite, I think collective favorite, Vitola here in the room. The Dalias, the Lonsdale from Cuba.
Yes, sir.
Does anything feel as good in the hand as
it feels so good.
this cigar?
Wow. A couple things.
Bam coming in hot.
But I digress.
You read my mind, Ben. A Churchill.
Correct.
So many
109.
other Vitolas.
Correct.
All right, boys, let's cut this thing. See, we're getting on the cold draw on the wrapper.
Oh, shit, I cut too much.
Uh-oh.
Bam, can we see your cigar?
Yeah, I know. It's got a flat top.
Are you showing us the foot or the head of the cigar?
I can't tell. I do admit I did take I don't know what's wrong with me these
Here's
days.
what I love. I love as soon as we cut, before Senator even looks at his own cigar, he looks at you to see what you did on your cigar because of what you did at PCA.
It's a lot. It's a
Bam
lot.
went from a 6 3/4 to 5 1/4.
I don't think so. It's a 3/32 of an inch removal, okay?
If you say so.
I know so.
Is there any curvature on the top?
There
of
is
the
no
cigar?
curvature.
Zero.
I took a little too much off. I admit that.
You're going on a pip.
I've been doing that recently. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
Just smoke it from the other end and see how it goes. There's no difference. You won't be able to tell.
That's not nice.
Unbelievable. All right, boys, let's light this thing. The Cohiba Siglo 5. Again, it's a Dalias from Cuba, Lonsdale, 43 ring gauge cigar by 6 3/4 inches long. This is now the 5th Cohiba we've done on the podcast. This has become a recent favorite of everyone on the pod. I think over the last 6 to 8 months, a lot of us have been smoking them. And I think, Grinder, this is your first tonight, correct?
First time.
Wow.
It's a delicious cigar.
Popping my cherry.
Oh, man. So satisfying off the light.
Mm.
From the point of view of flavor, it's like it's full-on flavor. Amazing. A little sweet, some fruit notes, a little bit of earth.
And a little creaminess, too.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely got that Cohiba honey grass thing.
Well,
Hey.
You know, hay.
Yeah.
well, I'm going a little barnyard for me. It's got a little musty, funky thing, which I love on the initial light of most cigars.
The other thing I like with this for a Lonsdale, as much as I love Lonsdales, I don't associate the Vitola with like tremendous combustion. But this cigar, I feel like, has a lot of smoke output, a lot of combustion, which is nice.
And the aroma off the foot, delicious.
Aroma is really good.
Retrohale's good. I mean, the aroma off the foot, it's all floral for me. Incredible. If you take it in,
Yeah,
there.
It's really nice on the foot.
oh, it's amazing.
And this is just one of those cigars, and I know I've been talking about this cigar quite a bit on the podcast as we talk about the retrohale and we talk about other aspects of Cuban tobacco that we've been enjoying. And this is one of those that has just been checking every box for me.
Yeah.
You know, the retrohale, the smell on the foot, the draw, even at its youth. I mean, this is a young cigar we're smoking tonight. This is a mid 2023 Siglo 5 out of Liquito. So it's like, I think that's my impetus to bring this into the room tonight is for how young this cigar is and how good it's been smoking. It's like encouraging that we're hopefully going to be able to recommend someone go out and buy what is an expensive box of cigars and smoke them young.
It's. I think it's already gotten better since we started smoking these when we first received them.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're getting better and better.
What are these going for now?
They're around 64 a stick.
Oh man,
Budget
So-
cigar.
So for a box of 25, you're probably looking at about $1,600.
That's the
$1,500
current price.
Yeah, current market.
Wow.
Yeah, which is tough. Again, buying a fresh cigar
That's unbelievable.
at that kind of price is just crazy.
These used to be in the mid 20s.
Just 4 years ago.
Like 4, 5, 6, 5 years ago, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate where the prices have gone here.
Yep.
So what's everybody getting on the light? Grinder, your first Siglo 5 tonight. What are you thinking?
The floral notes are definitely there.
Yeah.
I love the aroma. It reminds me, it's kind of a weird nostalgic. I get a very nostalgic feeling smoking this off the bat because it reminds me of what a cigar should smell like from an aromatic perspective. And as far as taste, definitely the honey. I'm getting a little bit of the twang, like my lips are a little puckered from salt.
Yeah.
On the retrohale, very smooth. I do taste just a tinge of youth, just a bit, but nothing that.
Would you say the youth? How would you describe that youth? Is it like ammonia? Is it bitter? What is it for you? Because
it's not ammonia. It's just a slight tang. A slight. Maybe that's bitterness for. Yeah, maybe
That's what it would
bitterness.
be.
Yeah.
I'm not getting any of that.
I'm not getting.
Not
that's
yet.
that's what I've been loving about this cigar.
Yeah.
And what now that you said that, I'm actually going to actively try to get it,
Mhm.
look for it. But what I love about this is for how young it is. It does not smoke young for me, and hasn't even as we get down to the last third. I'll see obviously under the microscope tonight. We'll see if anything changes. But it's been a very strong performer for me. And I think for a bunch of us.
Yeah, I agree. The thing for me, obviously, I've been tough on Cohiba, and I've come around on some, but still, most young Cohiba for me is not very enjoyable. To me, it just needs a lot of age. So, like a young Cohiba Robusto, I actively dislike. With age, they're great. Even a Cohiba Lancero, young, I think the last third really is where it's abundantly clear that it's got youth and rough edges and needs time. But this cigar, the last third, even when I've typically smoked this, has actually been really enjoyable. So
Yeah.
I just think young, this is probably one of the best options you have in the Cohiba portfolio.
And it's important to note, a few of the cigars you mentioned, namely the Lancero, come at an even higher price point. So you're pulling a cigar out, you're spending maybe $80, $90, $100, depending on where it is. I think Siglo 6s are close to 100. Pyramides Extra are certainly over that now.
Yeah.
So, you're looking at spending a serious amount of money to then have something that's a year, 2, 3 years old. And the last third is, like you're saying about some of those Lanceros, it's like unsmokable.
Mhm.
Which, okay, it's like you're throwing a $20 or $50 bill in the garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is a real treat when you're smoking a Cohiba cigar. I mean,
Wow.
you have the price point.
If it's
It kind of feels like a luxury product.
It feels that
right?
way now because of the way this cigar is performing right now. It has to continue for it to be, I think,
Yeah, I agree.
to fulfill that experience.
I agree with Ben because, again, like having had young Cohiba Robustos and even Siglo 6 years ago before I knew you guys, like I just had bad experiences with young Cohiba that it felt the opposite of a luxury experience. Like
Yeah.
that's why my hatred for the Cohiba brand was so strong coming into when I met all you guys and just wanting nothing to do with it. But I've been happy to see, and I do give Gizmo credit for diving down the rabbit hole far more than I was willing to, given my early bad experience, that there are some Vitolas that actually do present well young, like the Pyramides Extra we reviewed. I mean, that was excellent young. I
yeah.
love that cigar.
Oh, yeah. The smoke output on that.
But not all of them. Like I would challenge anyone to show me a young Coro that they love.
Yeah, the Coro's
I
awful when
can't-
it's not young. when
I'll
it's
throw
not
another
old.
one in the list, Esplendido, the Churchill from
Mhm.
Cohiba.
They
That
need
needs
age.
time.
Yeah, they need age.
That needs time.
Yeah.
And again, just to clarify, my critique is there are plenty of other cigars that we would say need age, but they're not $80 a
That's
stick.
exactly right.
So it's like if I'm going to pay extra, if I'm going to pay 80 instead of 30 for a cigar, I shouldn't have to wait for 3-4 years until I can enjoy that cigar.
Yeah.
That's what paying the premium should get me.
Yeah.
And that's my frustration with some of Cohiba.
But Cohiba cigars have always been on the upper echelon of the
Of course.
of the
Yes,
price,
but not
you
like
know?
now. I mean,
No,
a
not
Coro
like
you
now,
could get for
but-
$30 years ago.
Yeah, but when other cigars were like a Ras was like $10,
It was
Well,
15.
Cohiba Robustos
They're
were like
globally
30,
renowned,
35.
right? As
Yes,
the
they've always
top.
been, yeah.
Sure, of course.
now
They
with
were
the
double the
price-
price. You could get like a D4 for $15 and a Coro for 30.
Mm.
And my problem now is you can get a D4 for 20 and a Coro is what, 100?
A Co was around
maybe
80.
80.
Yeah.
All right, but
Oh, that's a bargain.
only
I didn't mean
80.
it like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like just 4 times what you're paying. I mean, that's insanity.
Well, the
I'm sorry, but I do love that Coro. Even with us 2 years of age, it's quite nice, and it's completely different than a D4. It's a
Of
different
course.
experience. Yeah, it's really something.
right. I think,
But it needs age.
I think Lagido and La Corona and all of these factories, a lot of the fresh stuff is really being rolled well. So
Wow,
there's
yeah.
less consistency issues and draw issues, and I mean all the stuff. It's getting worked out.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting, I mean, we have smoked a lot of fresh stuff that has really smoked well.
Unfortunately, it's coming at the highest price point possible, or in its history, right? So
Look,
that's-
everything's been worked out at the factories. Let's buy more $80 Coros. Maybe the price is just silly.
Unbelievable.
It is.
It's
It
just
is.
silly. How many cigars do you have in your humidor that are $80 a stick? Like those are special cigars
Sure.
that you
And
know you
most
have.
of them have significant age.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if I think about cigars that are really over $50 outside of any Cohiba I have in my Humi, it's like aged.
Well, the Kontiki.
Yeah, well, I got rid of those. It's aged stuff. I have a box of Mantua, the Punch Mantuas. I'm probably going to move. It's aged Esplendidos. It's aged Coro. It's Sir Winston's heavily aged. Partagas 898 heavily aged, and most of the rest of it, I don't know if I would want to smoke if it was valued at that kind of price point. I mean, you look at even those Vegas Robena Classicos, another Dalias that we love so very much, probably one of the best Lonsdales arguably ever made in Cuba.
And the most revered cigar in this group, I
And
think.
it's our number one cigar probably out of Cuba ever.
Mhm.
And that's a cigar that I don't even think would command that kind of price point today.
Yeah.
Like what is
That's my point.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And to think that you have to spend that kind of money to drop over $2,000 on a box of Coro today, fresh, to then sit on them for 5 years?
That's not fair.
That's
outrageous.
That's outrageous.
Yeah.
It's outrageous. What's not outrageous is how good this cigar
This is off the charts right now.
Yeah, this is very, very good.
Look, for me, I think whenever I get that combination of savory and sweet fruit and earth, which I'm getting here in a beautiful, smooth delivery, that is the ultimate complex, elegant cigar experience for me. That's the definitive experience that I'm always looking for. Those combination of things,
I love after the light. I mean, we're what, a quarter inch in here,
Mm-hmm.
third of an inch. I love how this cigar just settles in.
Yeah.
It's one of those cigars that, you light it, obviously there's a lot of heat on it, a lot of combustion. You get it going. And then after, 10 minutes, it just kind of settles in and it kind of puts you in the car and it's like, just takes you on a nice little journey.
Yeah.
Through the countryside. It's a very smooth, elegant affair. And I don't know, I've completely fallen in love with these cigars.
I think we all have.
I agree. I think this cigar is just really well balanced. Like all the flavor notes that we're talking about, not one of them is overly dominant that like really takes over the rest. They're all just kind of in perfect harmony.
Yeah. They're in
So,
cadence with each
yeah.
other. It's nice.
And I think like, Giz talks about it's an elegant smoke. I think it's like a firmly medium cigar. I don't think at any point really it gets full, but it's not mild. It's like just the right amount of body to it.
it's
It's
medium,
satisfying.
but it's very flavorful.
Oh, for sure.
And that's what makes it unique. And because of the medium body, you get to experience that smooth delivery.
Yeah. I mean, it is very balanced.
Oh, yeah.
And whoever blended this did a phenomenal job.
He's a virtuoso.
Yeah.
So these cigars were released in 1994. The Siglo series was actually launched in 1994. It comes in a display box. These come in a display box of 15 aluminum tubos in 5 cardboard packs. Those came out in 2008. And the varnished slide lid box, the classic presentation of the Siglo series of 25 cigars, that's obviously launched in 1994. There was at one point a display box of 25 cigars in 5 cardboard packs of 5, which were discontinued in 2017. So like I mentioned, this is the 5th cigar we're doing on the podcast. We have gone through Cohiba's history, the brand, the marca, the name, the counterfeiting. We have done so much content on Cohiba. So anyone who's new to the podcast, I encourage you to jump back to some of those other episodes we've done as we touch on those other areas of the Cohiba story. Let's quickly go through some of the other cigars that are currently in production, just so folks have them. Obviously, the Lanceros, the first cigar they ever made, the Liguito number 1, made in 1964. The Corona Especialis, which is the Liguito number 2, in line, I believe, with the Monte Cristo Especialis number 2, that same size, Panatella. That was in 1967. The Panatellas was also in 1967, and then everything kind of halted as far as new releases for Cohiba until 1989, and that's when the Esplendidos, the Exquisitos, and the Robustos were released. In 1994, they were celebrating 500 years. Obviously, Habanos is a couple years late, so let's just say it's 1992 when they launched it, and they finally came out in 94, celebrating 500 years since Christopher Columbus landed in Cuba and I guess took tobacco to the rest of the world. And the Siglo series was launched with Siglos 1 through 5 of various sizes. Siglo 1 is a Petite Corona. Siglo 2 we've done on the podcast. We'll talk about that a little later, is a Petite Corona. Siglo 3 is a long Corona, 42 by 6 1/8. I do like that cigar, but it is plagued by draw issues for me. Siglo 4, classic Coronas Gordas size on this podcast. We love that size. Haven't done that one yet. That's a Grand Corona, 46 by 5 5/8 inches. Commonly shared size with the H. Upmann Magnum 46. Tonight, we're smoking the Siglo 5. We've talked about that. And finally, for the line is the Siglo 6, which was not released until 2002. So that came out 8 years after the original release. That's a Canonazzo, 52 by 5 7/8 inches. Now, if you think about Cohiba as a brand and what people really reach for, I think my understanding prior to really diving into the hobby is with other Cuban cigar smokers outside of our group, I would have thought it was Coro, Esplendido, and then obviously in the 2010s, Bihique. What I've learned really is that the connoisseurs really chase Siglo 5 and Siglo 6.
Oh, wow.
Siglo 6 is probably the most sought after cigar right now. And I just think that that's also in line with the size of the cigar. I
Is
mean,
that
that's a big one, 52
Yeah.
by 5 7/8 inches. So,
Nice.
it's a Robusto extra.
It's interesting that you mentioned the first Cohiba cigar was a Lancero.
Mhm.
So in the 60s and 70s, the skinny cigars were very popular, which is a complete opposite now. I mean, Cohiba is going like bold now into 55, 56 ring gauges, even higher,
more.
even more
Yeah.
than that.
Even more.
I mean, that would never happen, back then. It used to be all Panatellas and Lanceros and Lonsdales. I mean, it's a very elegant size, right?
Yeah, man.
So also there's the Maduro line from Cohiba. They're one of the only two markers that have a Maduro line, Partagas being the other. The Genios, the Magicos, and the Secretos, released in 2007. And then, of course, boys, the Bihique line, Bihique 52, Bihique 54, Bihique 56. We did the Bihique 54. We smoked that with Danilo on that episode from earlier this year when we were in Cuba. That was an amazing experience. And then finally, in regular production, the Pyramides Extra was released in 2012. That is part of the classic line, so put that alongside the Robusto, the Lancero, the Esplendido, the Churchill, the Esplendido. There's also a Medio Siglo, which is a Petite Robusto, 52 by 4 inches. And then you get into the special stuff like the Novedosos, the Ambar, and some of the limited edition cigars, the Edición Limitadas, that come out every few years. So
The stuff in Rooster's Tower.
yeah,
Any 50 caps?
How many of those do you have? As you were going through your details there, I'm just waving this cigar under my chin, letting the smoke come up in front of me, and it's like perfume.
Mhm.
It's insane. There aren't many cigars that you can do that with,
I agree.
and be comfortable in doing that. It's really special.
It's true.
Yeah.
This is one of those cigars that we'd smoke, for the listener when we go to Cuba. We sit outside in the morning and we all sit around and we have breakfast and we kind of recap the day before and what we accomplished or didn't. And we always light a great cigar often a Cohiba or whatever we have available. I think a lot of us have been lighting Lanceros or Siglo 5s, whatever we have on hand. Pyramid Extra. And there's something about when you walk away from where everyone's smoking, to go to your room quick or run to the bathroom or get a water, and you come back in that room and just the quality of the aroma of that smoke is
intoxicating.
It's unbeatable. Like to the point where I really want to introduce smoking these kind of cigars in my living room at home because it's such a good smell.
Well, someone else here does that.
Rooster is nodding.
It's funny you mentioned that. My wife has been away.
And you've been the king of your castle ever since you left?
She left.
She left me. You smoke way too many cigars in the living room. I'm leaving you. So now I'm like moving away from the fireplace a little bit.
Of course
I'm
you
just
are.
kind of blowing it instead of blowing it in the fireplace. I'm like blowing.
You're at the fireplace. Yeah, you're spreading perfume around your house. It's great.
So now
Exactly.
now you and the cat can smoke it together.
Correct. And your sheets will smell like a cigar.
Sheets.
Yeah.
That's not
It's
the sheets.
basically
Your
a
bed
lamp
sheets, you'll
brigade.
smoke in your
Sheets the
bedroom.
living room.
You're moving around your house.
Bam Bam keeps a mattress in the center of his living room.
He needs to be ready to go at any time.
Boy.
So you know what I'm saying though, seriously, about the intoxicating, and it really is only really, really high-end premium tobacco cigars. I mean, even some of the Nicaraguan and Dominican cigars, it's like when we smoke these in that morning setting, there's just something about it that is just unbeatable.
The only way I can replicate that in my house is when I open my tower and I stand in front of it, and that beautiful wafting of aroma comes out. That's quite nice too.
So like I said, there have been plenty of wild releases, crazy expensive releases, limited things that have come from Cohiba. Too many to name on tonight's episode. But if you are interested, check out CubanCigarWebsite.com. You can go through everything that's ever been released, all of the details on bands and products and everything else. And you can check out what they're doing. So boys, I think this is just an excellent.
Here's a question. So I'm finding the finish on this is not long, but it's a medium finish, and it's a beautiful, nice dry finish for me. It's interesting. It's a little different from other cigars that I've had.
When you say it's not long, are you saying that it's just kind of dissipates quickly?
It dissipates somewhat quickly, but it's not a quick finish and it's not a long finish. It just stays, it's kind of like a medium. I'm hard to time that, right? But it's a lot like what we're kind of drinking tonight. Honestly.
Let's talk about our pairing tonight, boys.
For me, that finish is reminiscent of the cigar a bit. Nice and
So
dry.
we've decided to pair tonight's cigar with a Cabernet from California. Senator, you know more about this than I do. I'm not going to try.
Well, you sourced the bottle.
That doesn't mean I looked at it.
That's fair. It's Pahlmeyer, Jayson. There's an interesting story. I mean, I didn't know much about this vineyard, so I had to do a little bit of homework. But the guy who started this was actually an attorney who was really passionate about wine. And as he got into the wine business and clearly figured out what he was doing, he quit his career basically as a lawyer and just started doing this full time. And so this guy, Jayson Pahlmeyer, crafted his first wine in 1986. And his aim, he loved French Bordeaux. So it's funny when Bam talks about like a dry finish on the cigar and it complementing the wine has a drier finish. And this guy, his goal, I mean, this is a crazy aim to have, but his lofty goal was to basically create California's version of a Chateau Mouton Rothschild, which is one of like the most legendary Bordeaux vineyards that exist.
I've had that.
Yeah, Bam and I were talking about that the other night. Remember you and I had that the other
We
night?
cracked it open, didn't
Yeah, we cracked it. Too bad Senator's not here.
Correct.
I mean, a bottle of that stuff goes like between $1,000 and $10,000
Yeah,
a bottle.
I'm
depending
talking
on the
about Bam
vintage.
Bam.
Mere bag of shells.
You guys had the 57, didn't you?
That's right.
Of course.
Oh, I've had the 47. It's much better.
Of course.
Oh.
I'm only kidding. But I mean, a very lofty goal. Like I said, that's like one of the most legendary vineyards in history. And this guy wanted to create California's version of that. And so very cleverly, the guy was working with viticulture professors at the University of Bordeaux over the course of 3 years. He obtained vine cuttings of the most ideal Bordeaux varieties that would produce the greatest intensity of flavor. and he smuggled them into Napa and planted them in 1981.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's pretty crazy. I mean, this
That's
guy was
cool.
so passionate
That's
about
like
this.
pretty illegal, right? To do that? Like to
Probably.
import
Wow.
stuff like that?
Or I guess I guess
Agriculture's
not.
not into
I mean, no. Well,
I mean, dude, if you bring in oranges from another country, like
You're
That's true.
interrogated.
there's
That's
a
true.
beagle, there's a
That's-
beagle sniffing you out. Like you have a
it's
problem.
true.
That's true. And the article used the word smuggled, so it implies
I think-
something was not kosher
yeah.
about what happened there. And so then several years later, he had his debut vintage. They called it the Pahlmeyer Proprietary Red. So it was a red blend, very much Bordeaux style, the 5 Bordeaux grapes. And in 1993, he recruited Helen Turley to make his award-winning wines. And Turley is also famous in the wine business out in California. And so over time, they have a Pinot Noir. Apparently, he's obsessed with French Burgundy, big Pinot guy. So at some point, we should try the Pinot that he makes. But this cab, and I think they have some other form of red blend, are very much meant to be in kind of the Bordeaux style. And I think, from a few early sips, he's definitely achieved that. I mean, for me, we've done some red blends, some California red blends, like even that Robert Craig at a more accessible price point, that are meant to be California Bordeaux style blends. And I typically love those because some Bordeaux's can be too dry for me. Some California wines are way too sweet or way too jammy. And I feel like California trying to mimic what Bordeaux does kind of finds that happy medium where it's like just got a little bit of sweetness, but the fruit profile is like very balanced. And I think this is probably a good example of that.
Yeah, there's a touch of a fruit note that I love, but it's not overpowering. That dry finish, though, for me is a home run. Absolute home run. Love that. Drink's very, very sophisticated.
And this is the 2018 vintage. I had this with Gizmo recently. Gizmo brought another bottle that was the 2019 vintage. I like a lot of stuff 2019 from California. I'm actually not as high on 2018, but this is very good.
What vintage is this?
This is
2018.
18. This is excellent.
The thing I like about this, and again, it might not be the right pairing for the cigar, but I feel like this is a wine for me that I want to have with like a steak dinner. It's very, very rich.
I disagree. I think this pairs beautifully, especially in the way both the expression and the cigar finish in a beautiful medium dry finish. It's quite nice for me.
I think they pair great.
Yeah.
I think if you take a drink of the wine and then not immediately, but take a draw,
Both
the
have,
combination
It's crazy.
is really great.
both
Yeah.
have subtle fruit. Both
Maybe-
have a nice dry finish. It's really something else.
It's smooth.
yeah.
It tastes classic.
Maybe dip your cigar in the wine.
No, I actually agree with Bam and Grinder on this. I think the style of wine that this guy produces, it's got a very soft, supple finish for how flavorful and like structured the wine is. So I think yes, this would hold up great with any substantial meal, but at the same time, the delivery is just, the finish is so smooth that you could have this just sipping, sitting around a fire. You could have this with a cigar.
Yeah.
I think it's very versatile.
And it's as smooth a delivery as this cigar is giving us today, I think.
I think for me, I would like something a little thinner on the wine because I really want the cigar to be the star of the show. Maybe the Pinot for me would be a better fit on this cigar than the Cab is.
I think a champagne would do really well with this.
Oh, it would.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I mean, the funny
Because-
thing,
It's got a lot of floral notes.
Yeah.
And, champagne would be
Sure.
a very nice pairing, I think.
and the funny thing hearing you say that, the 2019 that we had, I actually think has more structure than this does. And so to pair with a meal, which was the intent that night, I would take that 2019 vintage for that. But I think the extra year of age, and who knows the growing conditions in 2018, I think it's a smoother, softer finish that actually lends itself better to have with a cigar than that 2019 one
Yeah.
did.
How much is that bottle?
So it's the retail price. I mean, at Total Wine by us, it's $100. It's not cheap.
Hello.
Giz, I think, got a very good case deal, but
I bought it. I bought these bottles a year ago on a blind recommendation from our friend Lizard Phil here at the lounge, and I found a great price. It was like a case deal like a year ago, and I think I got it for like $50. or something like that. But it's really gone up since Senator and I were looking at it.
I'd spend $100 on this. I'd pursue this vintage. It's really quite something else for me.
Yeah, I think the cheapest, if you probably bought like 6 or 12 that exist out there, is maybe 75 a bottle, but still a good price for what this delivers.
Oh, yeah.
So you had this before you bought it, or you just kind of took his recommendation?
I was looking for some like mid-range price point, like a kind of, jumping from 20 to that 50-ish. And this was one of the ones that came up, and it landed in that price point. So I was just looking for something a little bit better to pull for a holiday or a Thanksgiving or something like that, and have some stuff just because I wanted to have it. But I hadn't had it until actually Senator and I cracked it when I was at the lounge here having dinner the other night, and he and I had some food. So I was like, we got to try this. And then we really liked it. And then I ended up bringing a different bottle from the same shipment, which ended up being a year older.
Okay.
A year different, which is a weird thing too, because I didn't order different vintages. So it just happened to be a chance.
We got a great deal that night then.
It's also an important lesson for any lizard that buys wine. This is such a annoying problem that happens all the time. Whatever site you're placing the order from, you often choose a vintage that you're buying, and you really need to check all the bottles when they send them, because oftentimes, for whatever reason, these shops will send either entirely the wrong vintage that you ordered, or some of the bottles will be a different one. Now, in this case, I think we're very lucky that both vintages have actually been very good, so there's not a complaint there. But I've definitely been in a situation where I order a specific vintage, I assumed that they knew how to read numbers and get the vintage correct, cracked a bottle open, and I'm tasting it. I'm like, why does this taste different? And I look and it's the wrong vintage, and I've had to call and they've had to do something to make it right. But you really do need to check.
Oh, wow.
He just kind of subtly lectured me on
Correct,
what I
he
did wrong.
Yes, right.
You noticed that?
Yes.
Okay.
You just lucked out.
I just said they were both very good.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, I didn't even look at them,
Yeah.
when they came in. So, yeah, I think this cigar, I really think this cigar for me is the star of the show. I think the wine is very good, but it's not enhancing it for me. It's not enhancing the cigar for me.
I think it's complimentary.
I like them both.
Yeah. You're wrong, Liz.
Some of us
You got voted off the island.
I know, it's okay.
look.
That's
Some
why
of
we're
us
here.
some of us are wine guys. Some of us
That's
aren't.
true. So, boys, we have some very, very exciting news tonight. We have a new sponsor.
Oh, yeah.
Let's
New
go.
sponsor alert.
Oh, yeah.
I was literally gonna look for exactly that sound to play. I can't believe that you did it. It's perfect.
I literally Googled DJ rap horn
Nice.
Well,
so I could pull it up for the new sponsor alert.
You've been
Very
talking
important.
about it for a couple of weeks, though.
Yeah. Well, no, I just did it today. I pulled it up today. I was
It's very
excited.
exciting. Very exciting.
So we are very, very happy and proud and excited to have Fabrica 5, the new amazing cigar manufacturing facility from the folks at Friends of El Habano, Bon Roberts, our friend Rob Ayala, who we had on the podcast,
Rob, we
which
love
is
you.
crazy, by the way. A year and a half ago, he was on the podcast. If
Yeah.
you remember,
It seems like
I think
last
it was
month.
October.
that long?
I know.
October
Wow.
22.
It's crazy.
Seems like last night.
It's crazy. But he founded a new cigar manufacturing company with Hamlet Paredes, master blender and Cuban legend. His custom rolls out of Cuba are still passed around on the internet, still chased. He's a master blender. He was a Partagas for many years. He was at the Romeo y Julieta factory and facility for a long time. And they are now blending their own cigars in Honduras. They're starting with they've been releasing them now for a couple years. They are releasing the MoFo program on Friends of El Habano, the Nudies program. They have cigars coming for Bon Roberts soon. And I'm very, very excited about this, and very, very happy to have them on board as a partner. So,
And their timing is honestly great. I mean, I just say that, like, I think we've all seen the articles talking about how, and funny, we've even had conversations with some of the heads of a lot of these big cigar companies talking about how New World cigars are really starting to permeate other markets like Europe and Asia, places where all they were buying were Cuban cigars. And so I think like what they're doing at that price point, people are finally now at a point where they're getting frustrated with the Cuban price increases and saying, where can I find great value for a really good cigar? And I just think like the timing couldn't be better. I'm not sure how intentional it was, but I think it's smart.
what's interesting about this for me is, I've been working kind of alongside Rob on this tasting panel through Friends of El Habano. He invited me on, in February of last year, 2023. And for over a year now, I've tried every single cigar they've blended on the tasting panel. They take intense notes while we're smoking it together and commenting on it, good and bad. They make adjustments, they iterate, they send us new versions. They're very, very serious about trying to make great cigars. And they've released a line of cigars that not only am I proud to have contributed to those tasting notes, but I'm also proud to like partner with them because I really enjoy the cigars. I smoke them a lot. I brought some to Cuba on the last trip. I smoked them there. I had one last night at home here. Like they are really, really good Honduran cigars.
Mhm.
And the price point is unbelievable. We're talking 8, 10, 12, 14, $16.
That's a great price.
So
Amazing price.
I'm on the site. How big is the catalog?
The catalog's going to be very big. And
It
what
looks
you see on
substantial.
it is. And what you see on the site, it's coming and going based on what's available. When Vitolas sell out, they're obviously not going to be able to find them on the site. And by the way, the website, as Bam Bam's talking about it, is Fabrica 005, like Fabrica 005.com, Fabrica 005.com. And exclusive to Lizard listeners, you get 10% off your first order using coupon code FAB5. So that is going to be for the Ninfas this week.
So that cigar is beautiful.
Beautiful
The
cigar.
N1,
Yeah.
that's a gorgeous looking cigar.
The Ninfas is one of the most popular cigars that they've put out. People love that cigar.
Looks
And by the
awesome.
way, this is not like a baby brand. This is not something that's new. They've been doing this for a few years now. They continue to iterate. They've sold hundreds of thousands of cigars.
Yeah.
And what's great for American consumers is they're shipping these out of Miami. They're
Oh,
not
wow.
shipping them out of
So
Australia.
we'll get them pretty quickly.
You get them in a few days,
That's
real
awesome.
quick. And it's worldwide free shipping on all orders over $125 US after the discount. Again, use code FAB5, FAB5, exclusive to our listeners for 10% off your order of Ninfas. And, like I said, you got Rob Isla, who's a legend in the cigar business. He's had Friends of El Habano, which is kind of I think, the premier forum for cigars in the world.
Agreed.
Anywhere you want to find
Agreed.
information, community, anything about cigars, that's the place to go. And then you have Hamlet Paredes, who, like I said, was a legend in Cuba, came out of Cuba, worked for Rocky Patel for quite some time, left Rocky a few years ago, and is now working with Rob and Fabrica 5 in Honduras, blending, excellent cigars.
Yeah. I'm also looking at Desnudo N7s look really interesting.
So are these puro Honduran?
No, I think there's the different cigars have different blends of tobacco. They are rolled in Honduras, but there are some other elements in there. And I think based on the cigar, specific cigars have different blends and
Mm-hmm.
origins of tobacco in them. So you can go on the site and see that,
Wow.
all the details you want to see.
I'm curious. I would like to try a bunch of these.
Oh yeah, they're great.
The
They're
N1,
great.
the N1, the N7 look fantastic.
How would you, having been on the tasting panel, how would you, I don't know, categorize Honduran tobacco versus like,
It's very Cuban-esque from what I understand.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
And the thing that I've said to Rob, and again, why I'm very passionate and proud of this partnership, because I think I'll answer your question in a sec, but I think it's important to say that for us on the podcast here, it's very important for us to only have people on, which is why you don't see us have a lot of partners. We want to partner with people that we're proud to represent, that our listeners, if they go out and buy this product, that they know that we stand behind and our word is behind. We are not going to just take on anybody that we meet at PCA or anybody we meet on the internet or anybody that emails us. And we've had plenty of conversations, but this really aligns with our ethos on this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
which is truth, honesty, and no bullshit.
Right.
And that is why I'm so excited about them coming on, is I really am proud to tell people about these cigars.
Having those alignments in business is very rare.
It is rare. And
so
that's
get this experience where you actually love the product and want to stand behind it. That's quite something.
and you're talking over last summer, they were doing some unique blends and some, they were trying some new things, and we would get on the tasting panel, and some of those conversations weren't fun because some of the cigars we were trying that were kind of trial run blends weren't working. And then we'd get another iteration based on our feedback. It's like, wow, okay, now
Mhm.
we're in the zone here. So Rob would diligently take notes. Hamlet would be on the calls with us
Nice.
taking notes, and they were very receptive to the feedback. Like there's no ego there. So what I think the product of that has been is just an excellent line of diverse affordable. That's the biggest thing, is they're affordable, great cigars.
How many individuals were on a tasting panel?
There were probably between 6 and 8 of us.
So that's a sizable group.
Yeah, and Rob would select different folks from the forum that he would trust their
that's
palate.
great.
Or,
That's great.
You know, that it's not just friends. It's not just people he
And
wants.
it's not just one or two individuals. It's
Yeah.
it's a large group, so you're getting a lot of commentary, different types of commentary, and you're adjusting, I guess, the rolling and the blends accordingly.
And a lot of different palates too.
Mm.
So to answer Grinder's question about the tasting, the thing that I would say about what I've learned in this process about Honduran tobacco, and I think it's actually coincidentally very aligned with what Senator was just talking about with the manufacturer of this wine and his intentions coming in, where he was trying to be inspired by a different kind of wine somewhere else in the world. Certainly that is the case here with Cuban tobacco for Rob and Hamlet. Obviously, Hamlet's background is in Cuban tobacco. Rob has been, prior to this, exclusively selling Cuban tobacco on the internet for many, many years successfully with Friends of El Habano. And I think what I've learned is that Honduran tobacco is the closest thing I've ever had to Cuban tobacco.
Yeah.
There's nothing closer.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the site and they lean very heavily into it, and it's exciting because, I mean, here's one, the Puro Desnudo Pyramidi N2. It says, picture a Ramon Ionis profile in a pyramid. That was our vision, and that is what I believe we have achieved. That sounds incredible.
And when I tried that cigar, Rob sent us those cigars, or Hamlet sent the cigars from Miami. And Rob came on that call and said, guys, I'm not giving you any notes about this. I'm not telling you anything about it. Just light it up and tell me what you think. And we all were on that same page.
What
Ramon, Partagas, all of those notes came out.
Can I just say one thing?
Great cigar.
What blows me away is that I don't think there has ever been a New World cigar manufacturer that ever made a cigar that harkens back to a Cuban cigar ever. Haven't ever heard of that.
I also love the funny thing. You read the end of this description, and it literally says, fresh, a 91-point cigar every time with plenty of scope on the upside. It's one of the cigar world's bargains. To outright say that this starts as a 91-point cigar and is probably only get better with age, I mean, like, we talk about truth and honesty. You know, most manufacturers would sit there and say, it's a 98-point cigar right off the bat. No cigar is a 98-point cigar right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
I love the approach. Like, there's, you know, there isn't any kind of smoke and mirrors here. I also see they have a Robusto Trinity that's got a pigtail, so I know Rooster's going to be ordering a 50 cab of those.
There's several pigtail cigars in there.
Guys, that's a great cigar too.
They reference other Cuban cigars as well. Hamlet and I strove for a blend Lancero that had the best elements of Monte Cristo Especial and Por Loranga.
Where do you see that? You never ever see those comparisons. That makes it very interesting for me.
And guys, let's recall last week when we released that episode, the episode with the interview from Steve Saka that we did at PCA, and what Steve was saying about New World manufacturers really being unable to get close to that Cuban experience.
Good
and
point.
I think that the truth is here that Rob and Hamlet, certainly Hamlet being someone coming from Cuba, that's what he's worked with. He obviously worked with Rocky Patel for quite some time. Getting back to his roots from a flavor profile standpoint, with Rob's taste bud guidance of 30 years of smoking the best of Cuban cigars. Like, Rob is a Cuban cigar smoker. That's what he wants to smoke, but he doesn't want to sell $65 Siglo 5s and eliminate significant pieces of his potential audience or customer base.
Yeah, it's quite bold to compare your cigars to Cuban Vitolas that we love. That's a bold move.
I think if it were probably anyone else making that kind of comparison,
it would be discredited.
Red flags
right?
would, yeah, exactly
right.
Yeah, I also like the fact that the cigars don't have bands.
Yeah,
you know, it's something. It's like old school, right? Like the old.
It's very Cuban.
Yeah, but
very Cuban.
You know, in the beginning, like Cuban cigars did not have bands.
Yeah,
so I kind of like that.
Yeah,
and the motto there, by the way, is no boxes, no bands, no bullshit. That is the tagline.
Nice.
Of those cigars. And, you know, like I said, he's trying to release cigars that are very affordable for any smoker. If you're an attorney, if you are a plumber, if you are someone who is in sanitation, or you're someone that makes millions of dollars, anybody with any budget who has
you eat salad in your car or at the dinner table. For everyone.
Correct.
That was an attack. It's really, really exciting. And again, for us and for our listeners, I think this is a real good opportunity to try some new stuff, some great stuff. We're obviously going to be smoking some of these on the podcast. We're going to do reviews, and we are going to be unbiased.
All
If
right.
they don't score 90s, 91s, 92s, we are going to be very, very honest about it. And I think Rob is excited because he knows that we are also no bullshit. So I think that's going to be a very, very cool.
So what's your favorite cigar from this catalog?
I have a couple. I love the Ninfas. I love the Queen Corona.
You like N1 and N7 both?
Yeah. So the N is it's a designation of the Vitola and the size. So I just know them. I don't know the numbers as well as I know like just the names. The new Pyramides is amazing. I love the Fat Fundy. I love the Robusto Trinity. I really like the Lancero. I really like the upcoming Bond Roberts 109.
You're not giving me your favorite though. You're like,
I know.
It's the 109.
I think
it's
that
the 109.
the best cigar I smoked in 2023 is the upcoming Bond Roberts 109, which is going to be released later this year, which is going to be specific. It's going to be made at Fabrica 5 by Hamlet and the team there, the special forces of the cigar rolling
and
world.
only released through Bond Roberts.
And it's going to be a Bond Roberts cigar.
Exclusive,
I think
yeah.
Ravi from COH, the former Cigars of Habanos, is going to be distributing them potentially worldwide, definitely ex-US, and they might come from Miami here in the US, but they have a beautiful box and bands and all that stuff. That's the best cigar I smoked in 2023, hands down.
Wow.
I put a review up on the forum. If you go look at FOH, you could find that review. My
Very
name's
high
Lizard
praise.
Gizmo. It was the best cigar I smoked last year. And again, one more time for listeners out there, exclusive to Lizard listeners, 10% off with coupon code FAB5 for your purchase of Ninfas. It works on bundles or 5-packs. Check it out, and worldwide free shipping on all orders over 125 US after the discount. The website again is Fabrica005.com.
Wow.
I am excited.
Yeah.
I can't. I've been waiting for this for months.
I am too. I mean, we had a listener question, I feel like many episodes ago, talking about unbanded cigars and custom rolls and all these things because the Cuban market has just gotten so insane. And, you know, I was the purist of I only want to smoke things with bands, and admitting that I've been much more adventurous with these crazy price increases and found some real amazing gems that have just become part of the daily rotation. And I think this happening with New World Tobacco, but that is very much trying to deliver a Cuban-esque profile. I mean, I'm just as excited about this as any,
Absolutely.
you know, Cuban custom roll that we've smoked. So this is very cool what they're
You
doing.
know, it's excellent timing from the point of view of all the price increases from Habanos SA, but it's exciting to have a new line of cigars that we can try and pursue.
Bam, to your point about the price increases, I don't think that this is an accident.
Oh no,
That Rob has gotten motivated after the COVID
it's a great
shortages
move.
and
Very smart.
having to cut down 24 to not having shopping carts anymore, and you have to. This is all a product of the experience of saying, hey, how can I offer something to my customers that my distributor and my, the operation that kind of feeds us all our cigars is not giving us,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, it's true. I mean, I remember Rob talking about just how frustrated and tired he was of not having inventory to satisfy
right.
what his customers demand and what they're looking for. And so to your point, I imagine with this, it's like finally being able to have like a reliable supply chain where he knows the profile of what his customers are looking for, which is very much what we pursue and are looking for. And to be able to fulfill that regularly, I mean, it's a win-win for everybody.
But to piggyback on that, it's interesting to have such a catalog of cigars that have been heavily vetted and critiqued, right? That's something special.
And the one thing I want to say on critique for the listeners out there, there's two really important things about this. Number one, any listener who's listening to this podcast right now uses that coupon code, goes buys a bundle or a $5 of Ninfas. You can go on the forum right now and post up a thread and tell everybody on that forum, including Rob and Hamlet, what you think, good, bad, or indifferent. Let's say you hate them or there's something wrong. They have a money-back guarantee on the website. You go tell me another manufacturer that has a money-back guarantee.
I saw a rooster's head spin when you said that. It doesn't happen. It
doesn't
crazy.
happen.
Can you imagine
It doesn't
R&J would have to refund me for every single cigar I've ever bought
every
from them almost.
Churchill.
Yeah.
It's like $8,000 right there.
No, but if you don't like it, you can go on their website and tell them that, and you have 30 days, and they'll give you your money back.
Wow.
And that's just very uncommon.
That's
in
insane.
this business.
I just like that if we have any issues, we can just take it up with Gizmo.
Yeah, you can come
Correct.
right to me. Yeah, perfect.
We knocking on your door.
I think
Open your door. I don't like your cigars.
It's not going to happen with these.
I think it's exciting. There are definitely other cigars and cigar lines that came out with a brand that said, this is Cuban-esque, right? And Atabey comes to mind and others similar cigars. You don't get the marketing play in this, right? And in the absence of bands, the fact that it's mostly, there's not these grandiose boxes. There's an element that's lost, but there's also an integrity that's underscored in it. And the fact that he's bringing all these people that have a taste profile that he acclaims to actually get this in the right place before he brings it to the public, that's exciting, right? So you have a group that's vetting it that is not just marketing dollars and cents oriented. They're like, we want to make cigars for people that enjoy cigars like we do. The other question I was going to ask you in regards to Honduras is, have they had any similar challenges with, like, we talk about supply in Cuba, like part of the price increase, which we're kind of hypothesizing is actually supply and demand. Supply is low, demand is high. That's a price, sweet spot for these guys, right? Is Honduras similar? Like what kind of growing conditions there are more advantageous right now? Like
So my understanding of what's going on there and the conversations I've had with Rob and Hamlet about it is, first off, they're using 4-5 year aged tobacco in all of these cigars to start. And they don't put age statements on it, but they're using aged Honduran tobacco. So they're using stuff that's, a little bit older. And I think that they're moving kind of in the Padron way. They're moving at a pace that if it's available and it's good and we have enough, we'll put it out. But they're not forcing anything into it to put out an inferior product to just meet numbers or whatever it may be. For example, when Rob puts something up on Fabrica 5 or on FOH, once they're gone until there's more available. There's not an ongoing supply of these things for the sake of it.
I was going to ask you, like, how are they inventorying, blocks of production, or are they creating just a block and then stopping and then waiting for demand to increase on that particular cigar?
I think what they're doing is they're rolling a certain number of cigars of a blend and the specific tobacco they have.
So they're very nimble.
They're very nimble. Yeah. They move quickly. It's a small team.
Nice.
I think they have 10 or 12 or 20 pairs of rollers that are in this, SEAL Team 5 facility. That's why they're called Fabrica 5.
That's cool.
It's kind of like SEAL Team 6, SEAL Team 5.
When are we flying down?
That's a good question. That's up next.
Thank you.
Have to talk to Rob about
Correct.
that. But, again, to Grinder's point, not to harp on it, but I think aligning with the ethos of what we do, putting our name on something, partnering with someone that we believe in, we would not lead the listeners down the wrong path. And certainly for Rob and his community is his livelihood. He's not going to, lead his people down that path. And the ability to go on there, and if you're unhappy with something, put it up and give feedback. There's no other manufacturer that's able to do that.
And, Grinder, you mentioned about the Atabey. These cigars are at a fraction of the price of Atabey. Atabeys are like $40.
Yeah, they're expensive.
So these are about under 10.
I think the most difficult thing to do in business is to take critique and make adjustments in your business model, whatever you're doing. And if he's doing that, and it sounds like he is, we've got to try these cigars as quickly as possible because they've got to be incredible, I think.
Absolutely. And they are.
Yeah.
So we're going to have different coupons each week for different Vitolas. So tune in each week for different coupon offerings. So like I said, the Ninfa is available now. Coupon code FAB5, FAB5 at Fabrica005.com. 10% off for all our listeners, worldwide free shipping on orders over $125. And yeah, thanks to Fabrica 5 for jumping on board.
And also for listeners who are buying and trying these cigars, email us. I mean, I
let
think,
us know.
We're going on the same journey as many of these listeners. Obviously, Gizmo's ahead of us, having been part of the tasting panel, but would love to hear what some of the listeners are enjoying that they try on the site.
Oh, yeah.
So, boys, the Cohiba Siglo 5, this is an excellent cigar.
I mean, it's getting better and better.
I find that I know I've been talking. Am I behind you guys a little bit?
Yeah, you talk too much.
What else is new, Ben? Yeah, this is just delivering a really, really excellent experience to me.
I also like it, to me, as you get closer to the last third and into it, it picks up a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit in a nice way.
We love that.
It's like one touch more above medium.
I think it's gotten savory. And as the fruit and floral dissipate, but that still kind of continue through. That savoriness, still a very smooth delivery. That sophistication just doesn't end.
As Gizmo would say with his steak orders, it's medium plus.
Medium plus.
Rare
Well,
plus.
rare plus.
Rare plus.
Medium plus.
That's
I
your,
order rare
That's
plus.
your new temperature.
I do. I order rare plus. I love it.
I tried it
But
once.
this is definitely medium plus.
It's awful.
I just also have to put out to the listener, if any listener has a problem with ordering a steak rare plus, please write an email.
Yeah.
I'm just
Is
such a
this a
traditionalist.
controversial topic?
It is. Look, I have to say it. I'm sorry. Look, anyone if you've been eating steak for a long period of time, I mean, there was no such thing as rare plus a decade plus ago. Like, no one was ordering that.
So
Like,
is medium minus a rare plus?
So we were out to dinner that one night, right? And he ordered a steak rare plus. So I thought to myself, okay, I'll try a rare plus as well. It was interesting.
yeah, I mean, just look, the traditional designations for anyone who's been eating steak for decades, right? It was well done,
Mm-hmm.
medium well, medium rare, and rare.
Rare.
And like, it's a pretty straightforward categorization.
Why can't we
of
have
how you
micro
want
temperatures?
it.
He's a complex guy.
And so,
Why can't we
like,
have fractional temperatures?
if we're saying rare plus, I mean, it's basically saying medium rare, and we're just splitting hairs. And so I'm just curious. That's why I'm throwing this out to listeners. If any other listener is at all
This is gonna be
confused
great.
or perturbed by rare plus,
Can I write in? I'm
I
perturbed.
love it.
I mean, I just feel
Yeah,
like
use a
this
different
is-
handle.
I feel like
Hey,
this-
I really love rare plus.
I feel like this may be the most Gen Z steak order I've ever heard.
Gen
Oh,
Z.
Gen Z.
He's younger than me. Blasting me.
And I don't order a rare plus steak. I mean,
Yeah, but what's
how
the-
many letters and symbols are you going to add to your steak order?
What's the difference between a medium rare and a rare plus?
Well,
I don't know.
I mean,
Rare-
Gizmo would say it's in between medium rare and rare, but
That's not a
I
crazy
mean, to me,
sentence.
it's just splitting hairs. Like, that's what medium rare is meant to be.
oh wait, it's not rarer than rare.
Mm-mm.
No, see, he actually took it the
No,
other
it's
way.
the other
in
way.
between.
Oh,
It's in
I thought it
between.
was the other way.
Well, that's what
okay.
I kind of thought.
Don't they
Sorry,
call that black
that
and blue?
makes zero sense. Then
I've heard of black and blue, which is
wouldn't it be rare minus though?
rare minus or whatever the hell you want to
May
call
as well be raw at that
it. Yeah,
point. Just the whole
I've
thing.
I have heard that.
No, because it's rare plus because you're going up
I'm going
into
okay.
the medium rare territory. But listen, all I'm saying is if the grill is 2 minutes between rare and medium rare, I'm saying just make
Sorry,
it 1 minute.
I have to say, what Grinder's saying also makes logical sense. Like, rare plus does not connotate going down toward medium rare.
More rare.
It makes it
Plus
more
would
rare.
be going more rare. So the whole thing just doesn't make any sense to me.
I can picture the chef in the kitchen.
I love the look on Gizmo's face
Oh,
right now.
you have no clue. Every time he orders this, I just sit there and I'm like, guarantee the chef's going to spit in that steak. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
little extra sauce.
Correct.
I bet the chef celebrates because
Celebrate.
A
listen,
connoisseur. I have a connoisseur at my table.
I don't think the Outback Steakhouse.
I didn't
has-
order rare plus in an Outback. Rare plus in an
Just on a
Outback.
blooming onion.
I mean, there you may need to order because they might not know how to make a medium rare steak. But at a real steakhouse, I'm sorry, a proper medium rare comes out like what you're looking for with this rare plus.
You're getting too fancy over there for you.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. You put Gizmo, he gets a blazer, and now he's ordering rare plus. He's got his
Smoking
pinky
Cohibas.
out. He's ordering Jayson Cabernet. I mean, I don't even
Siglo
know.
fives.
Got rid of
Barely
his
recognize
Kanye
it.
hoodie. No more of that.
I didn't know that rare plus was a controversial
Very.
temperature in the room.
I didn't know it was a thing.
Thank you. And I would consider Grinder a real steak eater and connoisseur.
There you go.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Are we out of wine?
This is good wine. Yeah.
Daddy needs more wine.
Jesus. That's also a controversial statement.
All right.
All right. So speaking of controversy and kind of the opposite of what we just talked about with Fabrica 5 and some of these other things, Habanos has launched the Trinidad 55th anniversary humidor. They announced it at the Habanos Festival in March, which was, a big event for Trinidad 55th anniversary. The Habanos World Days are coming up, I believe, in late April or May, right around this time when this episode comes out, sometime in London, put on by Hunters and Francow. And what's not this isn't so interesting to me that they have a fancy humidor made by St. DuPont that's just ridiculous and expensive,
I've seen
etc.
it. Yep.
It has 55 Fundadores in it, which is interesting because we haven't seen those coming up much, right? But with this, Habanos has announced that they are phasing out, they are sunsetting the Añejados program, which is a very controversial program, as we've discussed many times on the podcast, and it's very controversial in this Cuban cigar community because the validity of the age statements. Oh, it's between 5 and 8 years, and they're putting out vitolas that have never been released before that all of a sudden have 5 to 8 years with different profiles. There was a lot of fugazi going on with the Añejados program. I think that's pretty widely accepted in the community. Well, they've aged that out probably because of the sales of that program and the response to it, and they are now launching a new vintage program guaranteeing certain ages of cigars.
Are they really guaranteeing it?
That's what they're saying.
That's a Cuban guarantee.
What they're saying is, and these cigars are the vintage 10 Fundadores. There's 55 of them in this crazy Trinidad humidor. According to Habanos, the Fundadores are under the unprecedented vintage 10, a new aging concept regulated by the Regulatory Council of the Habanos Protected Appellations of Origin.
Hey, Giz, are you on that panel too?
No, I didn't get a call for that one. Again, it's the Regulatory Council of the Habanos Protected Appellations of Origin, which is the worst name I've ever heard.
This sounds like a Michael
Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or actually the other guy in Florida who's on the run.
Oh, yeah, Mickey Mouse, which certifies that these vitolas have been aged in perfect conditions for a period of 10 to 14 years. So here are the new...
Well, I'm glad that means that finally they're going to be more excessively priced.
Oh, sure.
That's a good point, Senator.
This is a complex pricing
10
scheme
to
is what
14
this
years
is.
of it. Can you imagine what they're going to charge for these?
Come on.
It's going to be absurd.
I mean, how much age is on a Gran Reserva?
I think that's 8 years.
Right. That's going to be more.
Yeah.
Or 10 years. I don't know what a Grand Reserva is. It's a lot.
No one knows.
Yeah, exactly. So here are the 4 vintage classifications that are going to be coming from Habanos in the future. The vintage 5, which is a silver band, are cigars aged 5 to 9 years. The vintage 10 has a gold bronze band, which is this Fundadores release, has cigars aged between 10 and 14 years. The vintage 15 gold band, cigars aged 15 and 19 years. And if you can believe it, the Grand Vintage 20 with a gold glitter band, cigars have been aged for at least 20 years.
You know, the look on all of our faces is just absolute disappointment. Really.
I mean, it's also just like the bullshit meter is going off like crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm supposed to sit here and believe that there is 20-year aged tobacco in Cuba that hasn't been rolled yet and sold.
Never.
Get out of here.
Never.
Where are they keeping this and what
Never.
were they keeping it for? 20-year aged tobacco that they're like, nope, we're not going to roll and sell this. We're just
No.
going to hold it here. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Is this just on Trinidad?
Trinidad is the vitola that it's launching with, but this is going to be the new Añejados program. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that each year there's going to be a new vintage release of some cigar
Several
in the
markers,
catalog
I'm sure, yeah.
that have been aged at some sort of...
I think
know.
what they're trying to do, they're catering to the ultra wealthy global cigar smoker around the world that's willing to pay these outrageous prices for a prestigious box. Give me my standard production cigars. I'll be very happy. That's all I want.
All I'll have to say, though,
Really.
with hearing they're sunsetting the Añejados program, I mean, RIP the Upman Añejados.
Yeah, the Upman Añejados, yeah.
'Cause that was one hell of a cigar.
Oh,
That
yeah,
was a good one.
dude.
But dude, so many of them were not great.
What? I've had
No. So many of the Añejados program.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah,
That's
agreed.
true.
Yeah,
I
but-
thought you were about to
Oh, no.
attack the Upman Añejados.
No,
I'm like,
that's
wait
a
a
great
minute.
cigar. That's
I've
a great
never,
cigar.
ever had a bad up and Añejados.
Same.
Ever.
That's a great cigar, but there's a lot of cigars in that Añejados program that have just been absolute duds. And, you know, what I've seen on the internet is that retailers have had difficulty selling them because there's a lack of trust in these numbers.
Well, do you think the trust is going to increase now
I
with
don't.
this whole aging
If you put a
program?
glitter band on a Cuban cigar, there's no credibility. Like, come on. Glitter, gold glitter.
Yeah.
It's the gold glitter band.
I
on
think
the Grand Vintage 20.
they lose credibility with this move. I think.
I don't know if they've had much credibility to begin with.
I agree.
But,
It's
yeah.
true. Like I said, give me my standard production cigars. I'll be very happy.
But you guys, I mean, you guys have been to Cuba. You've seen the inventories live. You've
It's
seen
crazy.
the scarcity.
There's no
You know.
way. There's no way to Senator's point. And listen, are you telling me that they're announcing this program this year and they're going to wait 15 years to have a Grand Vintage 20? The
No.
answer is no.
All of a sudden, they found 15-year-old
And the
tobacco
problem
lying
I
around.
have, the problem I have, even with Fundadoras, right? Let's say Fundadoras. They have had such a shortage of Fundadoras being released. Are you telling me that over the past 5 to 10 years, they've been secretly rolling Fundadoras or putting aside that tobacco for 10 to 14 years of age, not releasing it to the public when they've been struggling before the price increases to meet demand, everything else? You're telling me that they've just, let's roll these and hold on to them like a long vision type of game plan here for their business. It's just never existed. Like, are they buying like Min Rodney's collection or something, or someone else's
They would-
collection?
they would
It's
have
absurd.
to.
That's what they'd have to do.
That's the only. I was actually thinking that when you mentioned it. There's some folks either a part of the Habanos ethos or the program, the organization somehow that have these collections.
Right. It's like for all these years, the reason I bring up the Gran Reserva line, like those are the most expensive cigars that they produce regularly. And that's because that's clearly the most aged tobacco they have their hands on at 8 or 10 years. But we're just supposed to believe that this entire time they've
had
just
'em.
tucked away this 20-year aged tobacco and said,
they've had
we
'em.
want to make no money on this. And then all of a sudden this year they got this idea, maybe we should sell it. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they
It's
had
insanity.
they had 5,000 10 to 14-year age Fundadoras.
I don't know.
Just they forgot about them in a closet, a humidified closet somewhere.
Well, you know
in-
what?
in
We're lucky
Havana.
we have Fabrica 5 now.
Yeah. Well, you know what's
Seriously.
interesting about you
We
saying
do.
bringing up Fabrica 5
telling
again
you.
and Rob is what I wonder about all this is the impact that Bond Roberts has had on
Mm.
Habanos thinking with their aging program and the chasing
Yeah.
of aged cigars that has happened so clearly, on a marketplace like Bond Roberts, which they've sold tens of thousands of boxes at this point, I'm assuming,
I guess that's a
in the 4
possibility.
years that they launched during COVID.
Mhm.
So it's like you got to imagine that Habanos is looking at this going, we're missing out on a significant piece of a secondary,
Market.
market or revenue opportunity. Like we gotta fix this.
It's like Ticketmaster.
Soon they're gonna have the official platinum Fundadoras,
Official resale.
official resale platinum Fundadoras. So yeah, this is really bums me out. And of course, they're packaging, like I said, in a beautiful SD DuPont humidor. Nothing against that, but the packaging presentation, the aging program that they're announcing now, it's another step in the wrong direction
Yeah.
for Habanos SA
absolutely.
and Cuban tobacco.
Does it come with an ST DuPont lighter?
It does not. It does not. It's a really nice ornate box, but
Yeah. Not much we can say about this.
yeah, not good.
Yeah, can't wait to try it.
Well, Connoisseur Corner, I'm sure we'll be placing a lot of orders.
Maybe they're buying Fundadoras from
Hey,
Rooster.
Yeah.
Correct.
Got that collection.
I
10 to
sold
14
them to BAM.
Yeah. Then I resold them.
Bam's putting an addition on his house
Correct.
this year.
He's a flipper.
Oh man, so that's an unfortunate piece of news, and I actually like that we kind of coincidentally bookended that with the Fabrica 5 announcement and where that's going with us and with them, and it's just unfortunate the way that Cuban tobacco is moving here. So boys, we're into the last third here on the Cohiba Siglo 5 and the Jayson wine from 2018, the Cabernet. What's everybody thinking?
Cigar is excellent.
Yeah.
Very good cigar. And he just, it keeps building. It's picked up a little bit in strength.
Yep.
But all the same notes that you get in the beginning,
Like,
they
yeah.
gotta
They
come through.
like I
yeah.
said, they carry through
And
and still very smooth.
floral and, you
Yeah.
still get those Cohiba DNA just kind of comes through.
I think it's right in my sweet spot though, kind of that medium bodied, medium flavor. The finish is I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's not too
Agreed.
elongated. I can't stop smoking it. I've
Yeah, the
just been
finish
like-
is not that short like you mentioned earlier.
Medium.
Yeah,
I said
it's
it was
pretty
a,
good.
yeah, I said it was a medium finish. Yeah. It's not too elongated, like you said.
I do agree with medium. Like one of the things I like when I smoke, really any of the Cohibas that I've very recently started to get into, it's just got a very clean finish. Like when I sometimes, I don't know if anybody can relate to this, when I sometimes want to have like a quick cigar, but I actually have like other things I need to do that day that require like meeting people and just being around people who are not cigar smokers. Like I don't pull for like a heavy Nicaraguan cigar where I am going to reek of tobacco. I mean, I'm going to have to brush my teeth twice, if not three times to like not taste that like intense Nicaraguan tobacco. Some of these Cohibas, like you can just have one of these cigars, like throw on another set of clothes and like you're good to go.
Yeah.
Like it's just such a clean finish.
Yeah, true. Like this wine we're drinking tonight.
It's funny you say that about choosing cigars that aren't offensive after, every cigar, I guess, is offensive in a way to a non smoker, but the levels of offense that come with quality tobacco, versus certainly non quality tobacco. And then also the difference in quality tobacco from Cuba, from the Dominican, from Nicaragua, and the intensity that it kind of lingers on you.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting commentary on that because I haven't thought about that so explicitly, but certainly it's been in the back of my head as I've made cigar choices, very similar to what you're saying.
I've definitely, I mean, that makes me recollect. I've definitely had that thought process. And truth be told, like when I smoke like a Padron outside or something and I come in versus let's say QD, my wife will like, that cigar stinks. Like you you absolutely smell right now.
Go take a shower.
Yeah, exactly. And that secondhand reverb or feedback is definitely noted, and I take that into consideration as well.
Mrs. Bam Bam will say the same thing. I say, no, I'm a walking potpourri today. Okay, I am not washing this off.
It's in his beard because he has it under his chin. The whole thing. So, boys, I have an interesting one for you. I'm very excited to read this listener comment from Lizard Anthony tonight.
He's looking at you, Bam.
No.
Oh boy.
He is, and I'm not liking this already.
Bam, Bam, lock in with me here.
Oh, Jesus.
No.
Here we go.
Bam, Bam, lock in.
This is exciting. Let me sit up.
Yeah, you're savoring. I know you are.
I'm savoring, but not for the reason you
I'm
think.
talking about Rooster.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Lizard Anthony writes, Senator cracks me up. He doesn't retrohale, and he drinks all his whiskeys on ice. Yet he's the most critical. If you aren't drinking the spirit neat, you're not getting the flavor the master distiller intended.
Rooster.
To taste the same in cigars, you have to be retrohaling. You aren't getting the true flavor the master blender intended if you are not retrohaling the cigar.
This is an indictment.
Bam, when I saw this comment, Bam, I got a little tingly.
So I have to say, look, I love all our listeners, but this listener clearly has not listened well enough. Go ahead.
Yeah. Correct.
Thank you. There should be sirens and red flags going off because I mean, what are we doing here?
Hell hath no fury like a senator scorned.
Correct. All right, let you two get it out. I'll let you two get it out. Jesus.
Oh, that horn is so annoying.
I love that horn.
Listen, let it listen. The joy that we get.
No. I'm all for the joy. I'm not trying to rain on the joy, but I do want the listener to understand. Number one, with any of the spirits that we review, I always take my first sip neat and then add ice. The only time that I'll immediately add ice if something is super aggressive in proof and I already know going in is not at all intended to deliver in somewhat of a refined way. Like there are certain higher proof spirits that we review that are from a quality brand that we know are going to be delivered in a refined kind of mature way, then sure, I want to try that neat. But 99% of the spirits that we try, I always start with neat. And then if I feel it needs to open up a little bit with some ice, I do, like any connoisseur. I mean, if you do a whiskey tasting or wherever you would do
Lizard
this,
Anthony, I think he's couching it right now. I think he's couching it,
no,
Lizard Anthony.
I'm just setting the record straight. I'm all for criticism and feedback. I'm just saying that, of course, you should try it neat. However, anywhere you go, I mean, folks will take a little pipette with some water just to help the spirit open up. If you've ever been to a Scotch tasting, I think many of us have been to them, and Grinder, I'm sure, will back me up on this. They'll take a little pipette with some water just to open it up. It does bring out other notes that you won't get without doing that. So this whole notion that you cannot introduce any water to a spirit, I definitely take issue with. I don't think that's consistent with the community. So I would just push the listener a little bit to try their spirit opened up after they've had it neat if they feel that it could benefit from it. And that's what I think most of us, if not all of us, do here when we're tasting. On the retro
But
hail,
you don't.
Hold on. We gotta just unpack that first.
Bam,
Does
Bam, go
Grinder?
ahead.
Well, no. Grinder looks like he's got something
Yeah.
to say.
I mean, I agree with everything he's saying in his defense, and I also I think I drink with you enough to know that he does drink it neat at first.
I'll attest to that as
And
well.
he-
This
and-
whole
and he-
eternity, this whole attorney persona.
and he
he's
does-
got
I'm
on this
just being
podcast.
honest. Like that's
not
all
working
it is.
He's got an invoice to pay.
I have to work for my rate, buddy. No, but I regarding the water and the ice, it does open it up. It is a thing. It adds a nuance to it. They're certainly different from, having it neat.
There are master distillers I've sat with from big Scotch brands that do exactly that. That literally take a pipette with water and add it to open up the spirit.
You
I
got
mean, this is
you got to
I-
release
by the
the
way,
dragon.
I've never seen you with a pipette. I
No.
think that is
Pipette.
one technical
Can
piece
you
of
bring
it.
it tomorrow, please? Bring your pipette tomorrow.
I'm
I'm
sure-
gonna buy one for Gizmo.
Oh, okay.
I'm
thought
sure
you
we
had
can
one.
all envision Senator with a pipette.
Oh, he
though.
definitely
yeah.
has one somewhere.
Of course.
It's engraved.
Now, on the retro hail, where I won't take issue with the listener, and I've said this plenty of times, Rooster's in the exact same boat that I am, or at least a similar boat. I'm not sure that it's the exact same. I do not and cannot, on command, intentionally retro hail.
I just
But-
want to say it sounds like you're not trying hard enough.
Correct.
Go ahead.
That's fine. I'm willing to take that. However, I do often accidentally retrohale while I'm smoking. And so any notion that I've never retrohaled or can't describe what I'm getting on a retrohale, I mean, that's just silly. It happens. I just can't do it on command. Like
Erroneous.
This is like changing the rating.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's nothing changing. It's the same thing I've said on every episode we've ever talked about the retrohale. I just can't. And just like Gizmo, while he wants to sit here and pretend he's always been a retrohale guy, Gizmo couldn't retrohale the same way on command all the time before.
That is not true.
And you literally play the tape back. I'll pull this if you want the next episode.
Hold on. I just want to make an observation. I think Rooster's scared to say something.
No, he's waiting because I'm sure he's going to chime in with the same thing.
I mean, not everybody can retrohale.
Mm.
But you're right. I mean, accidentally, once in a while, you do end up retrohaling, and it's you
Yeah.
know,
And
it's-
my point is, I'm telling you, if we play this back, Gizmo said, like, you literally practiced being able to retrohale on command. So this notion that before you were always able to do it, like, no, that was not the case. And all I'm saying, I'm owning
I
again.
don't know. I was retrohailing when I was 10 years old.
Well, you were. He was not.
I don't
no-
remember any of this.
Outside
Neither
of
do
you
I.
and probably Grinder, none of the rest of us sitting here were
Yeah.
doing that.
I remember that right after the Babel lesson, he takes a
Babel.
lesson.
That's Duolingo. Get it right.
No, he's a Babel guy. We're Duolingo
he's
guys.
yeah.
This is why his Spanish still isn't very good.
Oh, it's a backhanded indictment.
I'm just trying to get him on the Babel train. That's all. Sorry, the Duolingo train. So my point is simply, I'm owning. You've never heard me sit here and say I can retrohale on command. Have I ever said
No.
those words?
No, that's true.
I'm being
No, I
honest.
think
I
the thing
can't,
that-
and there's nothing wrong with being
I think
honest.
the thing that the lizard,
I
the
think
lizard
Lizard Anthony's
listeners
saying you
out
should
there,
try harder.
I
We
think
will.
that I think it's just
Right to the point.
I might need to put an asterisk on all of his ratings.
Yeah, maybe we need to have a tutorial,
We might.
retrohail tutorial.
We need to. You know what we need to do is make him draw and then just hold his mouth.
you know what?
closed.
I'm
We'll tape
actually,
We'll put duct tape on your mouth.
Correct.
I'm actually glad that Gizmo said this while we're reviewing a Cohiba, because wait till I review this Cohiba.
Oh
then.
boy,
We want to put asterisks on ratings. I'm going to give you a
Uh-oh.
rating, Mr. Cohiba over here.
I am Mr. Cohiba.
You are.
And by the way, I'd like to say I'm very proud of the fact that I think all of us now are Cohiba guys.
And sorry, the very last thing that I want to say,
Oh, and Lizard, Lizard Anthony, you got him going.
the very last thing I want to say to that lizard, anyone who is sitting here suggesting that if you retrohale, you can get all these flavors and you just can't achieve anything close to the same by not retrohaling.
Not true.
People need to understand certain individuals have very sensitive palates. I'm somehow very lucky to be one of these people. You have been in our cigar lounge where someone has blindly poured me wine, and I have guessed accurately not only what country it came from, what region it came from, what grape I'm drinking. I have an oddly sensitive palate. I'm not saying have some special skill. It's just I'm able to pick these things up. And so the point is,
Future sommelier in the room.
Hopefully, I told you in retirement, I actually want to take the SOM exams. That will be very fun for me. And so the point is, just like someone retrohaling, 10 people can retrohale, and one person may be able, or two people may be able to pick out way more notes than the rest of that group, just because they're more sensitive to be able to pick up those notes. So I also just want to dispel this notion that like everyone who draws smoke in their mouth can pull out the same notes, or everyone who retrohales is going to get the exact same things. Like every one of us is different. And so, for me, my palate is super sensitive, and I don't feel like, I mean, if you've heard any episode, I'm never at a loss for flavor notes because I'm not retrohaling is all I'm saying.
Do you remember sitting in the room with Danilo?
Yeah.
And we asked him, like, what kind of flavor notes are you getting? What did he say? He couldn't, he was like, this is a great cigar.
Yeah.
It's very balanced. It's complex.
Yeah.
That was basically it.
By the way, Hamlet is the same way from...
Is that right?
Yeah, Fabrica 5 FOH.
Yeah.
When you're sitting
and
there,
let me guess, he retrohales and still can't pick out the flavor notes.
And when you say like brioche or something, or if you call a sourdough out, he's like, stop it.
This is a pretty good conversation from the point of view of how you smoke a cigar, and everyone's different in the way they smoke. For me personally, the retro is complementary to the draw, and I pick up things when I take it through my nose that I don't get through my palate. And for me, maybe I have to do that.
And I'll be honest, again, I'm everything I'm saying is just how it is.
Yeah.
For me, when I retrohale,
it's how it is.
Unintentionally. No, I'm like, there's no reason to lie, right? I've just said 1,000 times, I can't intentionally retrohale. But every time I unintentionally retrohale, it is accentuating for me notes that I'm already getting. Oh. And so if I had...
That's validation right there.
No, it's just saying that like my palate's so sensitive. It's not like there are many flavors or notes that like get lost on my palate. It's super sensitive. That's why
you did say the word enhanced though.
It does. Yeah,
it does. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the retrohale.
Basically, you have to take note that you're working with a spin master here.
Correct.
He's basically turned it.
Well, he's selling us right now. By
his
the way,
palate is just so refined that he doesn't need to retrohale, which may be the case.
Who?
Oh,
do we really have to go here?
Oh yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Why are you
Let's do this.
All right.
Contributing
the
to
Spin
your
Master.
accolades.
Who introduced you to Caviar Grinder?
Check.
Come on. Look at this in silence.
What do you want me to say? Yeah.
Who got you on the champagne train?
Okay.
Check.
Okay.
Who got you on the cognac train?
This dude is over here doing pirouettes.
I got your back.
The point is, that's what a sensitive palate is able to pick up, and I'm sharing that. So it'd be one thing if you're sitting here like, oh, I have a very closed-minded palate and I don't try much or pick up much, but that's obviously not the case. So my point is, some people, their palate's not all that sensitive. That's most people, in fact, right? Like there's a reason there are SOMs, and there's a reason people hand someone the wine list at a restaurant. Like that person with the most sensitive palate is usually going to be picking the wine at the table. Mm-hmm. And for other people, the retrohale is needed, not just preferred or enhances or ideal, but needed to pick out all the notes. And for other people, it's not necessarily needed to get the notes. It just enhances the experience, which I 100% agree with. That's all I'm pointing out. You'll never hear me knock the retrohale like, oh, I got something bad. You have knocked
the retrohale. I took some real heat on the retrohale.
You did.
I knocked.
Dude, you were sweating bullets that night.
That was not good.
I knocked how over the top you were going about the retrohale that you're like, the retrohale needs to happen this number of times and this amount. And the irony is you're saying it, you're not even doing it. That's what I was pointing out. That's all.
Also you get a lot of flavor from the
aroma,
the burn line,
the aroma
of
sure,
the cigar.
of course.
I mean,
which Bam always talks about.
Yeah, that's
same with Rooster.
Yeah, I do.
I'm a big burn line guy.
Yeah, so that's a big part of
you're
smoking.
just a big retrohale.
It's the Gizmo moment.
Yeah, big part of smoking the cigar, right?
And then this is the
aroma.
Rooster wafts, and I just put it to my nose.
As do I.
Yeah, BAM does the same.
But that's where the point is, like, it's a very sensory experience smoking a cigar, and you experience it in so many ways as you're smoking it, whether it's at the burn line, whether it's the smoke you're drawing in your mouth, whether it's the retrohale, it's all of those things taken together. And depending on your palate, you need more of some of those things to get all the notes or less of some of those things. And that's just where every person's different. That's all I'm
It's a
saying.
great
I would say this has been a sensory experience when listeners criticize you.
Yeah.
I would love more of that.
Well, you know,
If there are any other listeners who want to send,
look, he's making a great argument. We'll take it into consideration.
I think we should table this until we get some more listener feedback on this issue, and then we'll come back to this.
Correct.
And
Let's
see
let's
what-
run it back in a few episodes.
I agree. Over some great champagne, as
There we
many
go.
of our listeners enjoy.
Oh, it's true. Can't deny it.
Well, I'd like to thank Lizard Anthony.
That's a good email.
No,
Yeah, great email.
it's a good email because honestly, I genuinely think it's worth a discussion
I
as
agree.
to how you go about experiencing and enjoying the flavors and the aromas that you're getting from the cigar. And again, I don't think any of us, myself included, is saying one way is better than the other. It's just each of us has different palates, and we do what is able to deliver the fullest experience for us.
I think that the important thing, and ball busting aside, I think the important thing about what you're saying there is the difference in the 7 palettes on the podcast, certainly the 5 palettes in the room being very different, is where I think that, what's interesting about the rating and discussing this stuff is that we're all coming at this from very different places.
Sure.
And we all have very different palettes and experiences and preferences. And I think that's what makes it interesting.
It does. And when I'm with other guys that I'm smoking cigars, not this group, I tend to watch how they're smoking. Are they retrohaling? Are they catching the aroma? A lot of guys don't do either, and they're missing out. You have to capture at least some of the aroma on the foot of the cigar while you're smoking it. I think that's an enhancement. Retrohale is an enhancement. You have to attempt. Just make an attempt.
Sure.
And the other thing, we're talking about retrohaling for many, not all, not BAM, but obviously for Gizmo and many, requires practice, right? To actually get yourself to a point where you can do that on command and get the fullest experience from it. The same exact thing is true from just smoking a cigar and drawing that smoke in your mouth and being able to pull out those
And not
notes.
inhaling.
Yeah.
But
it's true.
And similarly with wine, you could pour a glass of wine for 100 people,
Yeah.
and most people still will not be able to pick out the notes. And it requires trying a lot and practice almost
Right.
to be able to pick out those notes. And that's where I think, even for the listener that retrohales a ton, there's a lot of utility in just, as you're trying, putting the cigar under the microscope that we do here and trying to pull out some of those notes that you may miss initially.
Oh,
I look around this room,
that's right.
again, as someone with a very sensitive palate, not all of us have that same sensitivity, but over time, as we've been doing this for the last 2.5 years, I mean, I'll use BAM as an example. The notes that he calls out now, I'm sitting here holy shit, that's exactly what I'm getting, where I think 2-3 years ago when I knew BAM, he might not have picked up right away.
No, I've learned over time. And I think that just goes to not limiting yourself as to how you're smoking that cigar. If you can't retrohale, it's fine. But get the aroma on the foot. It'll enhance your experience, and you'll capture things that you're not necessarily catching on the draw.
Well, there's certain dominant flavor notes that pretty much most people can pick.
Regardless of the method.
Whether you retrohale
Exactly.
or not, you're going to pick
agreed.
those dominant notes.
Agreed.
But there's some other notes that have a finer nuance, somebody said, honeysuckle or something. It's tough. Not everybody's
Those are
going to
tough.
pick those notes.
If we want to go to the OG, Petrichor.
OG.
Episode 3 or something.
Correct.
Grinder explained to us what the smell of rain is.
But when somebody mentions something like that, then you're like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I do get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very individual.
It's a great thing about this thing of ours, really.
I do think you up your level a little bit. You up your grade if you're in a lounge and you're taking the time to retrohale or do the waft or whatever, because it shows you're trying to get you're trying to do all the all the different strategies to get the most out of that cigar.
Exactly.
And you're a seasoned smoker, in other words.
Yeah, and all of us can tell whether a cigar is good or not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can also tell, like what Grinder just said, if you're with a group and you're observing, I like to observe how people smoke. You can tell who's been smoking for a long time and those that are just starting out, and you want to have a conversation with them.
Yeah, like Rooster said, everyone can almost everyone, if not everyone, can tell if a cigar is good or not good. But what takes practice is being able to articulate why.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
That's right.
My why is to get listeners to write emails that are critical of you. That is my why.
Check mark tonight.
Look, I'm happy to give you a night off. I truly am.
I need it.
You've
We're
earned a night off.
129 episodes in. I need a night off. And I still didn't get it.
Oh, you kind of got it.
Well, thanks, Lizard Anthony, for writing in, despite the laughs about it. I mean, it is a good discussion, and talking about how everybody's getting their flavors and why is awesome. So, speaking of, boys, it's time to move into our ratings tonight. Let's start with the Pahlmeyer Jayson Cabernet Sauvignon 2018. Bam Bam, you're up.
Yeah, I've been between a 9 and a 10 from the beginning, and I loved every drop of it. At $100 a bottle, if it's between 75 and 100, I personally would pay that. Dare I say a 10? I mean, is that too high? I'm really, really enjoying this wine.
All right.
Yeah.
Grinder.
I think it's a delicious wine. I think my scale, it's hard to me to like communicate what the scale would be for me. So I was debating between an 8 or a 9. Yeah, 8 or a 9. I guess I'll go with an 8.
Try it with some ice.
Perfectly acceptable. I was gonna say retrohale it.
So
Oh yeah.
Just push the entire liquid through your nose. It takes practice.
Just put some straws in there first and push it right through the straws.
And wear a bib.
the thing I liked about the wine, I like wines that have there's the element of fruitiness, but also a little dry.
That dry finish.
And I thought that was a great balance, because I don't like something that's too fruity. I don't like something that I have to like pucker my lips afterwards. But I like it crisp and clean and with flavor. And I felt like this was smooth. It was like I asked for a small pour. I kind of regretted that I asked for a small pour.
Yeah, because Bam got more.
Correct. And I want more. And Bam finished before me.
I know he did.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I would maybe I'd give it a 9. I don't know.
We can't change ratings.
No,
I've been through this,
change
Grinder. Careful, you're wading into dangerous territory. I'll tell you firsthand.
Maybe I'd give it a 9 if I had, if I have a fuller spectrum of experience drinking wine.
My 10 is really based on my experience tonight with this cigar. Maybe if I'm not with this cigar at a table after dinner, maybe it's not a 10. But tonight, for me, it's a 10.
Senator.
So I just want to validate, Grinder. You should not feel at all apologetic about your rating, or that if you had tried more, maybe it would be a 9. I say that because I'm also debating between 8 and a 9. I've drank a lot of wine. The reason for me it's between 8 and a 9 is the price point is high. Like for $100, there are a lot of great $100 bottles of wine. If this bottle of wine was $50, it would be a 9, if not a 10, easily. I wouldn't even think twice about it. The thing I do have a hard time with is that $100, like, there are more complex wines at that price point. Like if I have one complaint about this wine, I would not call it very complex. I think it's really smooth, supple. They've done just like a great job of delivering something that's flavorful and has enough structure in a really easy drinking way, but it lacks complexity.
You have a repertoire of wine where you can compare other bottles of the same price point. Most of us can't do that.
Yeah, but even if you can't, that's why I'm saying, like, Grinder's admitting that he doesn't have that range, and I actually think like his score
is
extremely fair for what this is.
Yeah.
So that, like, it goes to Rooster with the cigars. Like, anybody can tell like a good cigar, a bad cigar, and I do think like anybody can tell a good and a bad bottle of wine. Can they explain every nuance of why? If you haven't had enough of it, maybe not. But I take no issue with Grinder's rating, and I do think I have to give it an 8. What's sad for me is if the price point were lower, it would be a 9, but I just have a really hard time giving a 9 at $100 a bottle.
It's still a nice rating.
It is.
Yeah.
Like, I would absolutely drink this again.
Yeah.
If I could find it for significantly less for a discount, like Gizmo was able to get it.
Yep.
I would definitely buy it. It's just that if I'm going to pay $100, there are many wines that are more complex that I would pick up over it, that would deliver an even more memorable experience. And so that's really the only reason. It's the price point that I have a hard time with, and the complexity not being there, but it's supremely enjoyable and drinkable, and just really well done. I just wish it were a little cheaper.
So I might surprise you with my rating, despite my earlier comments.
Oh, I know where he's going.
I'm absolutely going with a 9. And the reason why is because this wine for me is very much in my wheelhouse of what I like in wine.
Me too.
My commentary was related to the cigar. I've had this wine outside of this experience, had it with food. I really like the wine, and I think I would like it with other cigars better than I did with this one tonight. Maybe a New World, a lighter New World, a Dominican or something. For me, the wine was just a little too much for the palate with the cigar tonight,
Wow.
as I mentioned. But I can't take away from the wine for that. Like I think the wine's really, really good. And for me, I did buy this at a really reasonable price point. I bought this in the 50s. It was
That's incredible.
I thought it was a good value then.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's a good value now. So I'm very, very happy with a 9 on this, despite my earlier comments, because I think it's a really good wine. It just wasn't the right one for this cigar tonight.
Might want to rate it a 9+.
I told you I didn't get a night off. What did I tell you?
No night off for you.
That was great.
So, boys, the formal liquor rating on the Pahlmeyer Jayson Cabernet Sauvignon from 2018 is an 8.8.
Very good.
I think that's a
perfectly
perfect
fair.
score.
Yeah.
Perfect score.
Great.
Now, here's the question. If we were to take price out of it, because we did discuss price a little bit, do you think it would bump into the 9s or no?
Well,
I told you,
for
if,
him, it
if
would.
this were 50 something a bottle, I would give it a 9 for sure. But double that price, I can't give it a 9.
Would you change your rating on price or no? I don't
No,
think
because
so,
I
right?
didn't even think about that
Yeah.
when I just was like, you know, I oddly enough, the reason why he bumped it down is probably why I'd bump it up, because I don't really want a lot of, you know, complexity. I want something that's really easy to drink, and that was kind of there. Mine was more like I just want a better context of what my scale would be, and for me it felt right. I don't know.
And my point is, like, for wanting something easy to drink that is satisfying, like, you can have a bottle of Jordan Cab for, $50.
It's pretty
And
satisfying.
so, like, if I'm going to pay double that, that's like at the level where you really start looking for complexity.
Well, this is better than Jordan.
And that's what
I think.
it is.
Yeah.
But is it
Double the
double
price,
better?
$50?
No, price wise, no.
And that's the thing.
Yeah. True.
All right, boys, let's do the formal lizard rating on the Cohiba Siglo 5. Brewster, you're up.
I'm going to keep the price of the cigar. I'm not going to equate that into my rating. So, I mean, this is one of the better Cohibas I've had in a long time, and the Siglo 5 is excellent. Excellent. The size, the burn. I mean, none of us had any issues with this cigar. The flavor, I love the flavor. I'm taking it all the way down. I mean, absolutely no issues. Love the cigar. I'm going to give it a 10.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Wow. Senator.
So I'm at a 9 for sure. I love this cigar, and I am going to keep price as a factor. And the reason I'm even comfortable doing it, obviously the price is egregious, but what I do appreciate about this cigar, it delivers something that I don't get in any other cigar.
No, rarely ever get.
I didn't hear a single person here compare this to another cigar and say, this really reminds me of X cigar.
That's a good point.
That's a very good point, dude.
And I think that's a huge merit to it. Like, this has made my rotation because there's not a substitute at a different price point. And so even at a price point that's offensive, I'll always pursue it in some form or fashion because it's kind of irreplaceable. And I think it is complex. I mean, we called out a lot of different flavor notes we were getting. I think it builds as you smoke it in a really nice way. For its youth, it was smooth even down to the end. I mean, all of us smoked it all the way down. So I think this is a home run in the Siglo line. Like, they've done a really nice job with this cigar. It's solid 9 for me.
So I'm also at a 9. I think the reason why I'm not at a 10 on this cigar for how much I love it is comparatively to other cigars that are priced egregiously. This is at $65-ish. That's just astronomical and crazy for this cigar.
Yeah.
I think I look at the Pyramides Extra that we reviewed recently on the podcast from Cohiba. That cigar for me has been more consistently excellent. The thing about these Siglo 5s, and I just had one, and I'm looking at other guys around the room, the last quarter for me got a little harsh on this one, which Bam didn't have that experience.
Not at all.
Brewster's not having
Not
that
at
experience.
all.
Grinder is or is
Okay.
not. You
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
So for me, the thing about this cigar is there is a little bit more inconsistency than I'm finding in young Pyramides Extra and some of the other cigars that we smoke young. So I'm going to go with a 9 on this. I think if it was more consistent, if I was able to get a knockout 10 every time, I'd be very comfortable with that. But I think this does need maybe a little bit more age to reach that kind of mid 9s or 10 for me. I love the cigar. You know I love the cigar. I smoke them a lot, but I'm very, very happy at a 9, and I think that's the right score for me. Grinder.
I'm also at a 9. I think this cigar, I think I mentioned earlier, it fits my flavor profile. I do think there's complexity, but I don't think the complexity is stark. So oftentimes, you when you have complexity, you get some tasting notes that seem diametrically opposed as you go through the cigar. Everything seemed very clustered in a very specific medium, very classic Cuban-esque cigar for me, which I like. And it's delicious. But to your point at the end, I did have a bit like this is like I think I had to light this like 3 or 4 times just now, and it still went out, and it got a little harsh, but only, I mean, what is this, 1.5 inches?
Yeah.
Just there. So overall, delicious. 9 is great score. Fantastic.
Yeah, I've been between a 9 and a 10 the entire night. I think you've all mentioned this, but that fruit forward floral that continued all the way through, and it got savory halfway through in that beautiful smooth delivery. It's like you said, Senator, it's a unique cigar. I haven't had this experience in any other cigar. That price, though, it's pretty tough. Now, I took price out when I rated the wine. If I take the price out of this cigar, it's a 10. But I will go with a 9 tonight. The experience was off the charts. Off the charts.
All right, boys, that puts the formal Lizard rating on the Cohiba Siglo 5 at a 9.2.
Wow.
Which I think is a perfect score for this
Good
cigar.
score.
What was the score in a Pyramid Extra?
So let's go through those, Bam. We'll go through the other 4 Cohiba cigars we've done on the podcast. On episode 24, we did the Cohiba Siglo 2, the sister cigar to this one in the line. It's an 8.0. On episode 78, we took some time away from Cohiba after that one. We did the Cohiba Lancero, which got a 9.6, the highest Cohiba we've done on the pod. On episode 115, we did the Cohiba Pyramides Extra, which edged this one out just a little bit at a 9.4. And of course, with Danilo on episode 121, we did the Behike 54, but we did not rate that.
Right.
So this falls 3rd out of 4 on the ratings with a 9.2 behind the Lancero, the Pyramides Extra, and just ahead, quite a bit ahead, 12 points ahead of the Siglo 2, the sister cigar in the line.
Well,
So obviously there's a lot of Cohiba we have yet to do, and we don't reach for these as often as we have some of the other markers, again, because that price is just so egregious. It's crazy. And obviously a 9.2 is an excellent cigar, high recommend, but
absolutely.
it's just not one of those cigars that you can smoke every single day and be comfortable with that price, especially as we're talking other cigars that are 10, 12, 14 bucks from Honduras or Nicaraguan cigars that we love, or Dominicans, or even other Cubans. It's just not, something that you're going to be reaching for every day. So that's that, boys. A great pairing tonight.
Fabulous experience tonight.
Excellent. So on the Pahlmeyer Jayson Cabernet Sauvignon from 2018, we had an 8.8, and the Cohiba Siglo 5 got a 9.2. Excellent night, boys. Great conversation. Thanks again to our new partner, our sponsor, Fabrica 5. Visit them, Fabrica005.com. We really appreciate them coming on and supporting us. And
thank you, Lizard Anthony.
And thank you. Oh, bam. Good point.
I
Yes,
agree.
sir.
Thank you,
I
Lizard
said it was
Anthony.
a great question. It was.
We need more senator criticism on the
Some
email.
of us embrace accountability here. What can I say?
Oh, I've learned to embrace
fired.
accountability. Okay?
All right. Well, I like hearing that.
All right, we'll see everybody next week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for joining us. You can find our merch store and ratings archive at our brand new website, loungelizardspod.com. That's loungelizardspod.com. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, hello@loungelizardspod.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.